Start recording. Okay, yeah, so welcome everyone to our October North Lawndale Community Roundtable. I think everyone should know me by now, but we have some new folks to the meeting, but I'm Brian Hacker with the Department of Planning and Development and the project manager for the Ogden Avenue, North Lawndale and West Southwest corridor, as well as many other North Lawndale related projects. So we've got a interesting agenda today. We've got a presentation from Deborah and Leslie representing, Sinai, the Ogden Commons development. Talk about the Children's Discovery Center. It's going to be, located over at the on the Sinai campus, Ogden Commons there in the future. And then I'll be giving an update on our Almheim / Lawndale line planning study that we're just over halfway through, and we recently had a public meeting for us. So I can give you a little bit of background on how that went and where we're at in the project and what we're hoping to accomplish, through the rest of the year here, and when we'll hopefully wrap up the project. So let's see. I'm not sure if I know that we've got some folks on from Ogden Commons, and so we're a pretty familiar group here in general. So I don't think everyone needs to introduce themselves. But if you're new to the meeting, if you could give us a quick introduction, so just in case everyone else hasn't met you before in the community.
I'm Leslie Mitchell-Bond. I'm volunteering with NLCCC for the Discovery Center at the Ogden Commons.
Hey, Leslie, welcome.
Thank you. And I think Jeff Head, are you on from Habitat?
Oh, he's not on, Leslie. I'm looking at the attendees. He's not on yet.
Okay.
I'm Rob Bond with Bond Companies and have been providing real estate support to the Ogden Commons Children's Discovery Center project.
Great. Hi, I'm Sandra Ponte. I'm with the Chicago Community Trust. My first time at the meeting. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Rob and Sandra. Nice to meet you both. So let's see. Yeah, so let's get right into our first agenda item here. We've got Leslie and Deborah and Rob who are all joining us here for this project today. And so I think you had mentioned that you wanted to have some of our community partners get the conversation going, and then I'll give the screen over to you. You can go ahead with the presentation.
And so if you don't mind, Brian, I'll just kind of kick off the introduction. Leslie has been working with NLCCC for a while, both on this and the grocery store, but the Discovery Center is fits right in with the quality of life plan that we've developed for North Lawndale, that we've developed starting in 2015 and we unveiled in 2018. So again, this plan, this museum issue, we're looking at this being a center that is a tourist attraction for people around the city. Another one of the staples we're looking to build in North Lawndale that's going to make us a go-to destination, if you will. Leslie has done a fantastic job of helping us pull this together. She's working closely with NLCCC to make sure this happens. She's pulling together some resources, which you'll hear from in a minute. But again, we want to make it clear that this is something that fits in with the quality of life plan in North Lawndale. So we're really excited about this development among many others. So again, Leslie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Rodney. Okay, Brian, do you have the slides or should I?
I can either pull them up and you can just give me the cues on it, or you can share a screen, whichever you prefer.
Okay, no, I can pull them up. Let me. Give me 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So as Rodney said, I've been working closely with NLCCC and making sure that this Children's Discovery Center fits within the quality of life plan. Don't need to go through this, as you all are quite familiar with the community, but this is a picture of the site. It is part of the Ogden Commons project, which is across the street from Sinai Health System. And it's a partnership between Habitat as the developer, the City of Chicago Housing Authority, Cinespace Studios, and Sinai. There's already one building up, which you can see in the center here, and that has retail on the first floor with Sinai ambulatory care and outpatient surgery on the second floor. What we're talking about is an additional site, and we're going to be creating a Children's Discovery Center, which will be on the third floor of a building. The first floor will be a grocery store, a 46,000 square foot grocer. Sinai Health System is likely to take the second floor as women's health space. And then the Discovery Center will be the third floor with interior about 16,000 square feet and about the same exterior. As part of the quality of life plan, you know, we talk about health being a right, not a privilege, and certainly access to healthy foods should be a right, not a privilege. And for children, we really believe that play is a right, not a privilege. So, you know, there are many high quality museums across our city. This one is going to be really unique and special, both to the community and for some of the aspects about the museum. So first and foremost, social emotional learning is going to be embedded in every single exhibit within the museum. We've been working very closely with the Office of Social Emotional Learning at the Chicago Public Schools and have laid out a plan so that each of the SEL core competencies will be addressed at each of the exhibits, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Another component, as we said earlier, is the grocery store. You can see on this map, there is no grocery store anywhere close to this community. And when you have a population that Sinai sees dealing with obesity, juvenile diabetes, cardiovascular disease, you can have all the medical professionals tell you that you need to eat X amount of fruits and vegetables. But if you can't access fruits and vegetables, then you can't really take care of yourself. So the grocery store is a key component of this project and is really closely tied with the museum. And that speaks to another aspect of it, is that non-medical space is a really great place to identify and improve both physical and mental health. So in addition to working with Sinai and Lawndale Christian and some of the other community-based healthcare centers within the community, and also Rush, we're working closely with Lurie Children's and partnering with them because there are many ways throughout this space that we're going to be able to identify and improve health. Another key component of this museum follows along the message, you know, you can't be what you can't see. So if you're a child and you're walking through this museum and you go to the pediatrician's office, the pretend pediatrician's office, you're going to see images on the walls, photographs or, you know, paintings of health professionals who look just like you, who are Black and brown. And if you are in the performing arts space or the literacy corner, you're going to be seeing the same thing, images of people who look like you, who are musicians and dancers and actors, and you are going to, in essence, see what you can be. So as I mentioned, the grocery store will be on the first floor, 46,000 square feet. The grocer has already participated in a couple of town halls with NLCCC. They'll definitely be doing more so that they can get a sense from the community of what they want to see in their grocery store. They're committed to hiring the majority of their employees from the community. And when I say hiring, not just, a bagger, but they're hiring people with a career path, with, a future at the store where they can grow. And they have already applied to be an EBT site. So that families, many of the families across the street at Sinai's WIC program will be able to come right across the street and get all the groceries that they need. I see Alderman Scott already has your hand up. I can take a question now if you want.
Yeah, I'm on to Zoom, so I apologize. Did you name the grocer? I missed that. I'm sorry.
I did not. The grocer is Urban Market is their name. They have one store already, and they're opening another store next month on Chicago Avenue, just west of Halsted. And we'll make sure that people from the community and NLCCC are at that opening next month, so you get a sense of what that grocer is, and you can actually meet the owners.
Yeah, I'd like to be there, but can you give me the address of the one that is currently open so that I can roll by if possible?
I don't have that accessible, but I can get it to you.
Okay, if you would, through Brian, will be fine.
Sure.
Alderman Scott, I can help you with that. It's they're basically at Pulaski and Diversity, I believe, or Cermak and Diversity. It's under a different name called Central Market. I can get that sent to you, but they're going forward. This store number 2 will be at the project Leslie mentioned. Store number 3 will be the project she's discussing right now with that. And Alderman Burnett's met with them several times and worked with them on getting the store open on Chicago Avenue.
Thank you.
Sure. And then just moving on, another, these aren't the exact drawings, but just so you can see it, the grocer will have space open to Ogden Avenue. So after people have done shopping, if they want to just grab lunch, there will be places there to do that. They're also going to have in-store cooking classes with registered dietitians, and that will help people not only access food, but learn how to prepare food in a nutritionally healthy way. So moving on to the Discovery Center above, you can see there are 10 different exhibit spaces planned for the center. And as I said earlier, we have worked closely with the Office of Social Emotional Learning to make sure that those core competencies that children get starting in preschool, are really reinforced at this museum. And for younger families, with new babies, it will be initiated at the museum. And you can see here, we've identified which competencies will be addressed at each of the different spaces. And I can walk you through some of those when we get to the spaces. So first one is an infant toddler play area. Science definitely tells us that if you want to change the trajectory of a child's life, birth is the place to start. This will be a place for babies to crawl and look and see themselves in the mirror. It will be a place for toddlers to begin, walking and exploring. It's a place for moms or caregivers who feel isolated to be engaged with others who have young children. And more than that, it will be a place where there will be people on site, community health workers from SUHI and early childhood program case managers from SCI who will be able to talk with parents and caregivers. And if you have a mom who, might be suffering from postpartum depression, but doesn't even know what that is, or you have a mom who's wondering why her 9-month-old is not crawling and the baby right next to hers is, these will be people, near peers, if you will, and from the community who will be able to talk with families and help them, address any concerns and get connected to care if they need it. We're going to have a grocery store also, a pretend grocery store where people can, pick out their groceries, shop, fill their carts, and pretend to be a cashier. But in addition to all those things, there will be heart healthy and low sugar recipes on the wall. So someone could take their phone if they want, put it up to put a code and get a recipe along with coupons to go down to the grocery store. One example of social emotional learning that would apply here, you arrive with your 3-year-old who is dead set on being the cashier, but all the cashier spots are taken. That's, certainly prime territory for a temper tantrum. And there will be ways through social emotional learning to help children kind of monitor that. So Headspace, headphones for children to listen to a mindful meditation, or mirrors for parents to talk with their child about how frustrated they feel and making a frustrated expression and giving them ideas about other things that they can do and then come back to that. We have been working closely with Cinespace on a music, film, and dance performance studio where really children can use their voice. They may get up on stage and dance or sing, record themselves on television, and go home with a piece of museum, because there's a way to take a piece of that recording and have it emailed to your house. Lots of dress up, lots of fantasy play, really an exciting, colorful place for children. A pediatrician's office, as I said, we're working closely with Lori. So in addition to being a place to act out fears of going to the doctor, or gain some empathy by seeing what it would be like to sit in a wheelchair, children will also be guided with facilitators from Lori. And again, information will be on hand, whether it's on pediatric asthma or juvenile diabetes, but giving families access to some of the questions that they have and making sure they're connected to care. We're also going to have a literacy cozy corner. Been working very closely with Open Books and a number of others on this space. In addition to having books and written by Black and Brown authors with illustrations by Black and Brown artists, this will also be a place where parents can go and cuddle up and read a book, but also if the museum can have too much stimulation, this is a place where you can go and just have a little quiet time. We will have Mark Brackett from the Yale Child Study Center's mood meter here. Again, mirrors and pictures and emotions and more. Headspace, mindful meditations with child-size headphones. We'll have a Building Our Future exhibit, which, as you can see, is kind of a construction zone, soft blocks and large blocks for the youngest children and more intricate ones for older children. And this will really be a place with a theme of building our future. So building a metaphorical bridge, if you will, between North and South Lawndale. Excuse me. And also, as within other exhibits, there will be images on the wall. It may be photographs of aldermen, or it may be the mayor, or it may be, state and federal politicians, but images, again, of people who look just like you, so you can see what you can be. We're going to have a really large art studio. Been working closely with the Chicago Children's Museum on this space. Plan to have a lot of recycled art materials here, so that these are things parents might be able to replicate at home. And a place, for children to be creative and also get messy in a way that they wouldn't necessarily want to do at home. Our Kids in the Kitchen exhibit will allow older children and younger children to work together using math skills, measuring and mixing and seeing different textures, but also another opportunity to test out recipes that are heart healthy, that are low sugar, but that are fun and that children would want to eat. We've heard loud and clear from the community that a multi-purpose room is really an important component of this museum, and it will be a flexible space that will allow for multiple different kinds of activities throughout the day. So 1 hour there might be yoga, another, on the weekends particularly, we expect to have lots of birthday parties, a safe, economical place to have a party. But also community organizations that need a big meeting space will also be able to host educational sessions there, as well as talking to Erickson Institute and some of the other community organizations who want to have parent education sessions or other sessions there. And then really importantly, we have almost an equal amount of outdoor space to our indoor space. So that will serve a number of purposes, physical activities, climbing, swings, little tricycles for kids to, engage in really active play, but also a lot of green space, working closely with gardeners and others to make sure there's green space there. Opportunities for families to plant and take home things that they can continue to grow and eat. We'll have picnic tables out there, and there'll be enough open space that this can be used by the community for outdoor special events. This is just a list of some of the partners that we have been talking to in and outside of the community. You can see a lot of organizations, whether it's, Lurie that I've mentioned, the Chicago Children's Museum, but also the Lincoln Park Zoo and others. So citywide institutions that are really looking to be a part of this space. Just a couple other things I want to mention. There is a national program called Museums for All, and that's a program that allows people with EBT cards to get into the museum at a relatively low cost for a number of individuals. We're kind of putting a little tweak on that, so to make it even more accessible and to avoid people having to show an EBT card to gain admission. So we've been working and talking with local organizations and are going to develop memorandums of understanding. So, if you are a family that is already going to Latinos Progresando or going to Open Center, you will have an arrangement and they will give you a museum access card. So you'll get in at the same really low price, but in a way that makes you feel proud to be from the community and not having to show an EBT card. We have, as I said, have been, partnering with all these local organizations as well as citywide for the past almost 2 years now, and are looking forward to getting more involvement in the coming months with specific committees designed to really flesh out each one of these exhibit spaces. We've spent the past couple of months doing some extensive fundraising and should know in the next, I would say, 2 weeks about some really large grants that we're hoping are going to go our way. And I think I will stop there. Rodney, Jesse, Deborah, did I miss anything?
No, Leslie, I think you've covered everything pretty well.
Yeah.
I would just add that this has been a very inclusive process that we've taken. Leslie's just taken the lead on this and really moved it forward as it relates to looking at funding opportunities for the overall project, as well as bringing on additional staff to be able to support the project and a project manager. We will start interviewing for that role, I think, sometime this week. And if you have a candidate you'd like to refer for that opportunity, please send a resume to Doreen. Again, this is an NLCCC led effort that we have working in partnership with Leslie. and Rob, as well as with the Ogden Commons development.
Any comments or questions for Leslie regarding the Discovery Center or the grocery store? Thumbs up from Richard. Brenda, we're good to go then.
Hey, Rodney, I do have one question.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Do we have a timeline or a timetable of the entire project? Again, I was jumping from two meetings, so if it was said, I apologize.
No, it was not said. We're hoping to break ground this summer.
I think it'll be a little bit later than that. I think it'll be the fall. As we're starting to draw, but we have to still go through the process with the city in terms of the planning department and going through that process, and that takes a little bit of time. But I think a year from now, shovels will be more than turning at this point. Alderman Scott, to answer your previous question, the address was the other store was 4800 West Diversity under the name Central Market.
I do have one comment, Leslie. I think you guys are about 23 years late. I've just shown it to my 26-year-old, and she would have loved to have been at this place when she was 3. So I think you could go, if you can go back in time and like redo this like 20-something years ago, we would really like.
Hey, Richard, I'll have my kids go and give your daughter.
Their uncle will hang out with them then. I'll hang out with them.
Rob, you might mention the plans for the parking.
Okay, so the way to make this building the most economically feasible, we've separated the parking out from the main building that Leslie described in her remarks. It will be a separate structure somewhere in the 300 space range, immediately north of 14th Street from the property, and we'll have a connection point from the parking garage into the building, so we have safe access to and from. It will provide parking for Sinai workers, the museum, the grocery store, and of course for the Sinai Health Women's facility on the 2nd floor.
Last question for me. How is Alderman Irvin? Because unfortunately, it is not in my ward. Unfortunately, I wish when we draw the maps, if I can draw this in, it would work. But I know I'm going to have to fight for that. How is he working with you guys? And do you need me to? Because I do understand the permitting process and the bureaucracy that the city is. If there's something that I can do to help with that, or I can get Alderman Irvin to help with that, can you please let me know what can be done?
Yeah, Alderman, thank you for that. We really appreciate that. We have had meetings with Alderman Irvin. He's supportive of the initiative. He has a few questions. I think we're on the docket to go back with him with the financial stack. We had some work to do on our end. We had a meeting scheduled. We needed to reschedule that. So we'll circle back to him, but we definitely will take you up when the time comes for the permit process, as we know that can be a bit challenging.
If there's some massaging that needs to be done with my colleague as well, don't hesitate.
Will do. Thank you.
I say, do what you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, don't wait on us.
First of all, Alderman, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just wanted to jump in and say that, yeah, we're actually looking at, I'm working with, well, Jeff has not here today, but working with him and his council on another phase of Ogden Commons right now. And so I apologize if so also to Leslie, thank you so much for the presentation, and Deborah as well, for Rodney and Jesse for bringing this to the roundtable. Really excited to hear about it, and it sounds like a great project, and I'm really glad I got a chance to hear more about it today. So I was wondering, are the grocery store and the Discovery Center going to be part of like the same phase of development? Like on that same, are they both going to be on that same block? there?
Yes, it's an integrated building. The grocery store will be the ground floor at 46,000 feet. If we get the Sinai lease done, it'll be 30,000 feet on the second floor. The Discovery Center will be on the third floor. So a rectangular shaped building, efficiently designed with a beautiful concept, actually. And then the parking adjacent, as Deborah had mentioned. So really interactive. You begin experiencing the center and the community center before you get to the building by its architecture and inviting nature of it. And that's one of the things that are we think will be quite attractive and just and inviting, right? The grocery store with the garage doors and openness of it and the transparency of it to make it very inviting for the community. And that's the whole design behind the whole project.
Hey, Rob, you said that to make I think you said financially feasible is while we're doing the parking lot north of. Does that mean that it is going to be pay parking, and then anybody who's visiting the grocery store and or the Children's Museum or the Sinai building will probably be some kind of way comped, and then anybody else that is visiting will be a paid parker?
So the grocery store will be comped. That's generally how we have to get a grocery store deal done. It's painful, but that's the way it works. The Sinai, as part of their lease, will be getting a certain amount of parking spaces that they'll pay for additional for their workers. So they'll, to be honest, I think a lot of the parking will be subsidized, is maybe the right word, by Sinai and their tenancy, as well as some of their daytime workers, professionals who work in the facility just immediately south of the property. The parking for the Discovery Center will be discounted significantly, understanding the neighborhood. It's not a moneymaker. I think in a perfect world, the goal is to break even on the parking. It's a drag on the pro forma, as you can imagine. So we're trying just to get there as best we can. That'll be an area where we want some help from the city. Jeff has already started those conversations to see what different types of programs and funds will be available, and the parking's the big beneficiary of that.
I just want to jump in here. There are a couple of folks I see on the call who, apologies, I should know who you are, but I'm not aware. But Jacqueline and Vernon, I just wanted to.
Yes. Hey, Brian, how are you? Jacqueline and Vernon are with the North Lawndale Employment Network, and we were prepared to provide an update on the employment efforts and recruitment efforts that we've been engaged in to support the Ogden Commons. And whenever you're ready, we're ready to provide you a quick update.
Yeah, that's great. So welcome, Jacqueline and Vernon. Sorry, not trying to be like exclusive, but sometimes we have people kind of.
No, I understand. No,
these meetings here.
I understand completely.
And then, like,
so let me, before we jump in, is there an age limit to the use of the Discovery? Can I go play in there?
Brenda, you can come anytime.
There will be an adult wing, right?
Right. I want to come play. So we are really pleased to provide the presentation. Who's sharing their screen, Vernon or Jacqueline?
It will be Vernon.
Okay, well, I will turn it over to Jacqueline is our Chief Program Officer, and Vernon is our Employment Specialist, and they are prepared just to give a little window into the employment efforts that we've been working on. I'll turn it over to you, Vernon.
Yes, ma'am. Give me one moment to turn on my camera. I apologize for that. There we go. Cool beans. Hello all, my name is Vernon Fleming. I'm the Senior Employment Program Specialist here at North Lawndale Employment Network. And I just wanted to go over our Ogden Commons hiring endeavors of 2021. So just to give you a little streamlined look at what we were originally proposing for our Ogden Commons event to look like, we were essentially going to work with CHA and CARA to initiate referrals through the CHA portal, where regular eligibility notifications to the CHA referral team would be listed. From there, we as NLEN will also concurrently list a job fair. We've had about, if I'm not mistaken, 5 hiring fairs within multiple sectors of healthcare, TDL, hospitality, and if I'm not mistaken, transportation and distribution. So this would lead into about 40 NLEN and CBOC hires to be recommended, with an additional 10 CHA hires to be recommended within that hiring goal. So essentially, one of our biggest partners, Job Grill, was to provide about 50 different job positions for our clientele, as well as support CARA's 1-year retention rating for CARA and CHA hires. From there, the
Hey,
proposed.
Vernon, let me just say, CHA is also, it's the Chicago Housing Authority, so CHA.
I apologize for that. Yes, CHA is the Chicago Housing Authority that we were working with. And then following that, just to give you a bit of explanation on how we were going to go about this. So we were going to send 7 dates starting April 16th. From there, we'd host a Pathway to Hospitality hiring event. This occurred on both May 8th and May 21st. An NLEN orientation plus 8-hour minimums of programming, which includes a 2 to 3 hour higher level hospitality and food industry training by the end of May. Any applicant who wanted to go through our hospitality training had to go through that 2 to 3 hour hospitality and food industry service training. As well, we initiated a potential day in the life of the employer. This is where applicants were supposed to be able to meet the employers and owners of these operations, figure out and hear a little bit more about the job descriptions offered, and then be able to answer questions. And then from there, along with Job Grill, our other hospitality partners were to do interviews and acceptances by the beginning of June, mid-June. And again, just another overview of how NLEN outside of the child portal was setting up their hiring events internally, leading from May 8th to the 10th to complete RSVP forms and resumes. May 10th to the 15th, take a 2-hour hospitality module. From that, May 19th, we as NLEN did interviews for potential applicants before we sent them out for the day in the life of, which occurred from May 19th to May 22nd. Where they will meet the business owner and learn firsthand what it would be like to work for the business. And then again, we were expecting offer letters to be sent out by the beginning of June 1st. So when it comes to touch points over the last 5 months, then that's leading from May all the way to October, which is now, there have been 2 hiring events for hospitality, over 40 emails and or phone calls collectively made to job partners. We've had about 70 responses for job applications from all of our recruitment events. This includes finance, TDL, hospitality, and healthcare. Of those 70 people, we had about 15 applicants sent over to our hospitality partners. As of now, only 5 applicants have been hired through our initiatives, all of which have been hired through Steak and Shake. Job Grills has stated that all applicants received were underqualified to work for them and that they would not be planning on hiring until late November at the earliest. From that, partner participation. No job partner actually participated in the 4 Meet the Owner events within our 2 hiring events. We've sent numerous emails to these job partners requesting for either representation from another employee or someone from their organization just to talk about working at their working with their positions. Of the job partners listed, only 2 job partners, Steak and Shake and Job Grills, sent their job descriptions over, stating what actual positions they were hiring for, though Job Grills did not submit their descriptions until 2 months after the last event. So we didn't get a job description from Job Grills until about July, end of July, August. No information or replies were ever received from Momentum Cafe after our first initial meeting with them about the Ogden Commons setup. And then as well, an additional partners note. So Job Grills, specifically our largest partner and provider for jobs, expressed that there was a miscommunication in sending inexperienced workers, as they are wanting to have workers with at least 1 year of experience. They, again, are not expected to open up for their Ogden Commons location until late November, though they have stated that they have 2 openings per position at their Hyde Park location. But then as well, they also stated that they are not currently hiring at any of their locations at the moment. It is under the understanding that if no position is available, if a client is sent over to them, that they would be put on reserve for future openings within Job Grills. As of right now, Job Grills has not interviewed or hired anyone at any of their locations, and this is expressed directly by their owner, Tony, through various phone calls and emails. But then outside of that, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, I'm more than happy to answer those and update you on anything that you may need to know.
Thank you. This is Deborah. Hope you can hear me. I just needed to clarify, because this is great information, but what you're referencing is phase 1 of Ogden Commons. The museum is phase 2 in the grocery store. So those, to me, those are 2 separate. One is accountability on the for the retailers who made a commitment to hiring from the community, and the other is something that's going, that we're planning for, and we will be working with and hopefully with NLEN on helping them keep their commitment from the grocery point of view, as well as what we're doing in the other parts of the buildings. I just wanted to make, so because I just think that needs to be clear. One is different than the other.
Yeah, Deborah, thank you for that clarification. I also put that in the chat for anyone that's looking. I think that, the reality is that we're experiencing what people call the Great Resignation. We know that people are thinking differently about jobs, particularly in the food service industry. And I know that we remain very committed to continuing our efforts to get folks from North Lawndale in these jobs. And so the commitment doesn't change, just that I think that there's been a couple of challenges around communication and timeline, right? So folks aren't going to start hiring for people unless they actually have those positions available. And because the construction has been delayed a little bit, that certainly has an impact on us creating a pipeline for them. But we're also continue to be very excited about, these jobs. We know that they're going to be good jobs, and we just are a little concerned around Momentum Coffee and the fact that we've been reaching out to them but have not had any success. So I don't know if there's more that we need to know about their engagement, if anything's changed, but we certainly do have a list of baristas that we've been able to collect through our own efforts through the Be Love Cafe that we would be happy to share with them.
Yeah, there is a plan. For those who know, there's an advisory council for Ogden Commons. This is on the agenda. Habitat needs to be at the table because that's part of their responsibility on that. And so there's a meeting scheduled, I think it's Thursday, to really, and I would hope that you would present this information so that they would know, and there could be some action from the Habitat side of it.
We'd be happy to.
Yeah, Brenda, there are some requirements. This is very concerning to me because there was some systems supposedly put in place to address these very issues that you're describing, and these folks have received funding to do this, and part of the return was to ensure that folks from community are staffed in that. And again, as Deborah indicated, I would reach out to Jeff as a representative from Habitat who knows the requirements and who can push this forward.
Yes.
You shouldn't be pushing this forward. They should, as the owner, that's their job to push this forward.
Well, we're committed, you know, this is for our residents, but I will
Absolutely.
follow up with Jeff.
Yeah.
Deborah has put me in touch with him in the past. We've been communicating periodically, so we'll follow up with him as well. But rest assured, you know, just so you know, we are absolutely steadfast and will do our very best work, hopefully more collaboratively with Jeff. And also note that NLEN is not responsible for the, I think, 10 or 15% that have to be hired through CHA. And that Kara is the placement partner for recruiting the CHA residents. And unfortunately, we haven't heard, we need an update from them on the status of those efforts, but we can generally assume that it's just been a challenging season for this industry, to be fair.
And there is not only for the retail component, but as well as for all the tenants, which is Sinai as well. There's a hiring requirement for all of those tenants in that property.
Thank you.
Because there's dollars from the CHA and the dollars from the city and state that requires that.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe both of those projects, both those restaurants have neighborhood opportunity funds
That's
going into
correct.
them.
Yep.
So you can feel free to reach out to me. I'm not sure exactly if there's like a local hiring requirement there. But you know, I'm happy to look into it.
But it was
There
in the-
is,
it's in our
Brian,
agreement.
and
Yeah.
there is, to your point, but I think, you know, I think Jesse and Deborah have both said that the first person to contact really is Jeff. And then if I need to follow up with you in some way, Brian, you know, I'll reach out.
Okay, sounds good. Vernon, if you can stop sharing your screen, please.
Thank you, Vernon.
Yeah, thanks for the update on that. Let's see, we don't have a ton of time left here. I was going to give an update on our Almheim line planning study for the rail line. Goes through Holman Square, Roosevelt Costner. So I can give a really high level review of where we're at on that just in the last few minutes that we have left here. So we recently held our second public meeting. We did a in-person meeting and a virtual meeting the second and third weeks of October. So just to it's a little refresher if you're not familiar. Right now, DPD is working with CDOT and DOH and a consultant team to study the potential to do a elevated trail along what's currently called the Almheim freight rail line owned by CSX Railroad. But there's an opportunity to potentially purchase some land from them and convert this into an open space and recreation amenity, as well as something that would encourage new development in the area. And there's a lot of city-owned vacant property that's in this study area that you see here. So it's an opportunity for DPD to explore redevelopment of property that's been long vacant and that the city would like to leverage to encourage new development in the community. Got some cool images here that the consultant team took from a drone. So this is looking east. You got the Holman Square campus there, right in the foreground, and this shows just kind of like the stretch of the line as it goes towards downtown.
Hey, Brian, can I have that picture?
Yeah, I'll send you over the, I'll send you the slideshow as well, too. I think I should be able to email it to you. And then, yeah, this is the drone footage looking west, again, pretty much from the same spot. So you can just see, that kind of green belt like stretching out to the west. And here's an image from, kind of ground level. So we also had our first workshop in mid-August, and we heard a lot of feedback there. This is kind of like a broader take on like, what folks from the community, what their vision is, what are some things that just big picture items we should prioritize in the project. So we've got a lot of great feedback, a lot of comments about having, any investment there, like reflect the identity of the community, having it be kind of, inclusive and focused on like arts and culture, safety, the different types of programming that could take place up on the elevated rail line. So lots of ideas. And kind of covered this already, skip this, but one thing I want to point out is that this project is a framework plan that's focusing on the open space. I've been saying it's kind of like 45% open space, 45% economic development, and then 10% anti-displacement and equity focused as well, because as you've seen, not just from like kind of more one-to-one type examples of 606, but if anytime the city's going to come in and considering a major investment of like capital infrastructure that's going to draw attention to the community and maybe drive real estate speculation, we want to make sure that we're putting kind of policies and programs in place that can fight back against displacement. Another thing to call out too is that right now we're not sure that the city could end up controlling this entire right of way. There is an opportunity to purchase some land, but it's also possible that this could be an area where the even though it's fairly inactive, that the freight railroad might want to retain some ownership. So we have to explore options of a rails with trails possibility, and hopefully down the road maybe the city could get control the entirety of it. But right now we're kind of contemplating that some rail right of way will remain there. So I don't want to get too into these, running out of time, but so this next slide here, we focused in the meeting on home ownership in the area and how it's fairly low, and that one thing we want to do is increase home ownership, and make home ownership accessible for Lawndale residents. So we're looking at kind of like a toolkit for ways that we can accomplish that and to keep rental prices down. We did some instant polling with the attendees of the virtual meeting to have them prioritize what kind of strategies would be the most favorable. And then for the economic development side of things, we're picking 5 areas that are within the study, greater study area, calling these focus areas. So we're going to look in more detail at the opportunity sites that are there, what kind of land uses make sense in the long term based on the market and like the local demographics, and make some recommendations for urban design and land use concepts that'll make it into the final plan. And at this point, we didn't really go too deep. We're not doing like renderings or anything like that, but just more talking about these focus areas. So you can see going from the west, there's the Roosevelt Costner site. It kind of is what it is, but so that's actually not one of the focus areas. So we're looking at this one in the pink, like around Pulaski, which is kind of more industrial area. There is this one in the dark blue around the Central Park Theater, where there's a fair amount of vacant land there along Roosevelt. The Lawndale Plaza Shopping Center and surrounding area, it's another area that's a lot of parking there, and potential and vacant locations like the cinema there. So there's some redevelopment potential there. Home Square, even though it's growing, has some additional opportunities for redevelopment or renovating historic properties that are there. So that's another one that we're taking a look at. And then just to recap some of the instant polling, we asked a question of like, what types of new development would you like to see in Roosevelt Road, for example? So, threw out some possibilities that would, fall within that universe of the commercial corridor. And then, we also took a look at like Home Square too, which is a very different area than Roosevelt Road, and looking at, what types of land uses make sense in Home Square. What would you like to see more of there? Getting back to my previous comments, we also wanted to take a look at the open space recreational opportunities. So you can see here, like some of the questions we asked are like, where would you like to access this trail? There's not a lot of kind of like neighborhood, like smaller streets that intersect with it. There's most of the streets that go under it are, you know, the more kind of like quarter-mile arterials. So, you know, we were able to kind of condense down what the possibilities are here, and, you know, see where folks are taking transit from, or like where are they walking to, or like where are they riding their bikes. So how would you like to, you know, get up there? And then, you know, we also, again, the meeting went in much greater detail in terms of what we were asking about, but also, you know, what kinds of like natural areas would you like to see there, and what kinds of programming would you like to see? So, you know, trees, like a kind of prairie meadow areas, or like more defined gardens. And so again, just to show some of the instant polling results, like, you know, we put up all these options on the screen and said, hey, like where are you active in this area right now as a pedestrian or a cyclist, or, you know, someone who takes transit. And, you know, here on this slide and the next, you know, we're showing a little bit more of like how to get into the sort of community identifying elements, and like the arts and culture representation, like here, you know, like gateways, like if we're going to do like features that are sort of, you know, marking a certain point in the trail, like what kind of views are important, you know, like the boulevards, or like, you know, other kind of community identifiers, like, you know, some of the buildings in Home Square. And this, you know, just talks about, hey, here are these like all these different options that we could consider for arts and culture programming. So, you know, what kind of spaces should we try to create on the trail? And then just last, I think this is the last slide here. So we just asked, you know, rank your what types of programming you'd like to see that, you know, you think would be fitting, you know, if the trail were to be, you know, be built, we were to identify funding for it. So yeah, Alderman, you have your hand raised.
I do, sir. So as it relates to the sharing of the rail line with, because it's theirs, with them sharing with the city, right? Is there a possibility where like we can do everything around leaving a track available for them, and then, you know, still program through that, because they never really use it, but just have it available in case they need to use it. And then let's say they ever wanted to use it, to have guards or rails in place so folks can't come up on the elevated line. So if they needed to go through there, they can just go through there without folks coming up on the elevated line. Because I would assume that we will know when they're coming. I'm sure it's just not going to be out of the blue where boom, we got to run a train through there. Is it a possibility to just leave that available, still do garden and things around it with a track that goes through that people can still walk on, and when they need it, they just, if they ever need it, just roll through there? Is that a possibility?
To be honest, probably not. You know, it's when we see, because we've really taken a look at other examples, you know, where this has occurred, and it, you know, usually you have to have a pretty clear barrier between the two. And it, you know, I mean, I obviously we talked about this before, and I've talked about it with Alderman Irvin too, and, you know, he's raised the same point that like, it's like, hey, you know, this never gets used. You never see a train up there. But, you know, it's not to say that, you know, the future could change, but, you know, we've heard from CSX that like it does serve an important connection. This is a line that gives you access to O'Hare. So, you know, I think that they're trying to retain this for, you know, potential future connections, and also it provides some connections between two, like, you know, it's like a connector line between two very busy freight lines.
Yeah. I got that, but from what I understand, and I'm not debating what they told you, but from what I understand, it was built specifically for the Sears building and to get things to and from the Sears property. That no longer exists, and it will never exist in that manner again. And so I again just want to think of all possibilities of how to properly use this line. I mean, there are places where to work, and as you know, there are places where we don't have the right of way to do the clear delineated line between the railroad and any patron that goes up to use the line. It's just not enough room in some spaces. So just throwing out ideas. I got you.
Yeah, you know, so we're moving to the final phase of the project here. So it's a good segue into, you know, giving an update on where we're at right now. In this final phase, you know, DPD and the other city departments that are involved in this will be working with, you know, our consultant design team to, you know, consider questions like this, because right now there's only, you know, like maybe like a third of the line where you got enough right of way to stay on it, crossing over the streets. So, you know, some of the other sections, it might have to be kind of like these open space rooms that have, you know, grade crossings at them. So, I mean, you know, these are things we're going to consider in the design process, and obviously Alderman will be, you know, and actually too, we're doing a review meeting with Commissioner Cox before the last public meeting, and I'll put you on that so you can get a preview of these before we, you know, go live at the meeting. So I'll make sure that you're, you know, cued into that. But yeah, you know, we see the frustration in the, you know, these limitations too. And who knows, you know, maybe this is not going to get built next year, you know, just being honest about it. We don't have funding for it. This framework plan is like a really important step to show like when we need to do this so we can go pursue like federal funds or state funds and say like, hey, look, we went out to the community. We took a look at the existing conditions here. We took a look at like the market that's around here and like, you know, what the future impacts can be. And it says that we've done our homework to pursue funding. So it's not to say that like, oh, there's no money for this, don't worry, it's not going to happen. It's just like, we're not at that point yet where we can kind of pursue bigger pots of money, and this will allow us to do that. So, you know, keeping that in mind, further down the road, maybe eminent domain. You know, this is the kind of situation where you could pursue eminent domain. It's just, we got to be really careful with legal stuff like that, because we could do that and like lose. So, and then we're, you know, kind of out of luck. I mean, you probably know, probably seen that process play out before Alderman. So we have to be strategic about it. And we're just not in a place to say right now that we would or wouldn't do that. So I'm sorry we kind of ran out of time on this and for going over, but you know, I don't have a meeting again until 4 o'clock. So if anybody does have any questions and they can hang out, you know, like to know a little bit more about this, I'm happy to, you know, stick around for a few minutes and take any questions or comments. But if folks have to drop off, totally understand. Thanks for your patience.
No questions for me, Brian.
Okay, and another thing that's worth mentioning too, just one final thing, is that we don't have, oh wait, no, we do have a date nailed down for the public meeting. It's going to be on December 2nd, and we're going to do it all virtual this time around. So, you know, we'll block off a couple of hours. So it should be December 2nd from 5 until 7, and we'll get the word out to you and share it, you know, with you know, and the Alderman's office, obviously, and NLCCC, and, you know, other stakeholders, you know, mostly via Rodney and Jesse, our corridor managers, but getting the word out through them, and even doing some flyering out in the community as well. So yeah, mark your calendar for that. That'll be our last public workshop to present these like final draft concepts, and then we're looking to finalize the plan either like you know, late December, or probably, you know, more like early January after the holidays, once we've got a chance to, you know, deal with vacations and all of that. So, you know, we're hoping to get this in front of Plan Commission as well. So yeah, moving pretty aggressively into the final phase here. So thanks everyone for attending today. And yeah, again, thanks to Leslie and Deborah and Rob, Brenda, Jacqueline, Vernon, everyone who joined and gave us a nice update on all the exciting stuff going on at Ogden Commons. So looking forward to it. And when those things are coming through DPD, I'm sure I'll be the project manager. So I'm looking forward to working with you some more as we get closer to actually getting shovels in the ground.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks very
Good
much,
evening.
everyone. You have a
Okay.
good one.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks, everybody.